In 1482, hoping to put his unhappy years in Florence behind him, Leonardo da Vinci arrived in Milan. He felt Milan offered opportunities Florence could never give him. But to make it here, he would have to find a way to present himself to the powerful Duke, Ludovico Sforza, known as Il Moro.
Leonardo was in his 30s when he arrived to Milano. He left Florence because he was quite unhappy there, but also because he heard that Ludovico Il Moro wanted to build a very large statue to honor the memory of his father. Leonardo really wanted this commission because it was a very prestigious one, but strangely enough, he had never made yet anything really significant.
He wrote a daring letter to the powerful Duke offering his services not as a painter, but as an engineer.
This is real chutzpah. The guy claims he can do all sorts of things. They have to do primarily with warfare, weapons, defenses, and he says, I can do all this stuff. And it's very interesting because in the middle of the letter, he slips into the future tense. In other words, he hasn't done them. In fact, he hasn't done any of them. So this is one of the great self-promotion deals. Then you get to the end. The very end, he says, P.S., figuratively speaking, I can do art for you too, and I can do the great horse in memory of your father.
Leonardo worked steadfastly to impress the Duke. He was 32 when in 1484 an outbreak of plague hit Milan and the city's streets became choked with the dead and the dying. Leonardo puzzled over how he might reduce the disease by spreading the population, which he said was herded together like a flock of goats, filling every corner with their stench and spreading pestilential death. Then he set down his ideas.
There's one where he shows really a two-level city, the Park Avenue people, as it were, up above, and then down below, canal for sanitation, transportation of goods, and so forth.
Finally, Leonardo succeeded in impressing Ludovico Il Moro, and in 1489 the Duke took him on as court engineer. Now Leonardo was in his element. His responsibilities included everything from designing an indoor plumbing system to dreaming up costumes for the court pageants. Leonardo even came up with a design for a revolving stage.
Milan was a very luxurious city. Not the most literate city, but the richest, and probably the one where they have the most fun. Leonardo was very happy in Milan. Ludovico Il Moro let him do almost exactly what he wanted. It was a very comfortable position.
Although the Duke's castle was already a formidable fortress, Leonardo began to fill page after page with designs to bolster its fortifications. Indeed, the never-too-distant threat of war posed all sorts of problems which tested Leonardo's imagination. He designed a bridge that could be collapsed before the enemy approached, a primitive machine gun, and even a flamethrower. Water, too, fascinated Leonardo, and he began to muse about devices for navigation. He drew a flotation device, water skis, and an underwater diving mask. But as intrigued as he was with designing weapons of war, he was also concerned that his ideas might be misused.
I do not wish to divulge or publish this because of the evil nature of men who might use it for murder on the seabed.
Leonardo was reportedly a vegetarian, and he wrote that one should not let the body become a tomb for other animals, an inn of the dead. In fact, Leonardo had a reputation for being so compassionate that when he saw birds for sale in the market, he would pay the asking price, take them in his hand, and let them fly away, just to return them to their lost freedom. Still, Leonardo continued to frustrate his patrons with his strong-headedness. On April 25th, 1483, he was engaged to paint an altarpiece depicting the new religious dogma of Immaculate Conception. The contract called for an elaborate, ornate depiction and even specified the colors of paint. But Leonardo disliked the pomp of the church, and in any case was not one to carry out instruction. He signed the contract and then unleashed his imagination.
Nothing like that had been seen on Italian painting before. Here we have this strange painting, triangular configuration, Madonna and child, the child blessing the kneeling St. John and this strange sphinx-like angel set before a stalactite, stalagmite world, moisture-drenched world of half-lights.
Still, painting was not foremost in Leonardo's mind. He was consumed with the commission he had dreamed of when he came to Milan, the enormous statue for the Sforza dynasty. As much as the artistic challenge, Leonardo relished the technological challenge.
He's fascinated with horses. He draws horses all over the place. And he first wanted a horse that was rising. He settles on a walking horse, which is, from the point of view of statics, what he could achieve.
Leonardo thought this would be the everlasting monument to his scientific and artistic mastery. He cast a clay model which dazzled the people of Milan. But just before the bronze was to be cast, the French army stormed the city, threatening the very foundation of the Sforza dynasty. Sforza's troops were hard-pressed to match the superior weaponry of the French army. In desperation, the Italians commandeered the bronze which had been intended for Leonardo's statue to make artillery. Leonardo's dreams were dashed. Sadly, he wrote, "About the horse I will say nothing, for I know what times these are."
And then, as the story has it, the French come into Milan and they use the clay model, which it was, for target practice. And that's the end of the horse.
The rule of the 300-year Sforza dynasty was ending. Disheartened and bitter, Leonardo now began to think about leaving Milan. At just 42, the sun had now set on the happiest days in his life. He would have to find a new patron. He wrote,
When fortune comes, seize her firmly by the forelock, for I tell you, she is bald at the back.